Chair lays out House Bill 470, recognizes Chairman Tepper to explain the bill.
Good morning, Chairman and committee. Thank you for allowing me to lay out House Bill 470. In 2020, the Austin City Council drastically reduced the budget for the Austin Police Department, which resulted in the department having less resources to combat crime. As many people know, crime in the city of Austin is out of control. According to the U.S. News and World Report, both the violent crime rate and property crime rate in Austin were higher than the national average in 2022. According to a KXAN article, which is local news, published in July 2024, the Austin Police Department continued to face staffing shortages with over 300 vacancies and response times exceeding 10 minutes, greatly exceeding 10 minutes from my experience. House Bill 470 seeks to reduce crime in the most prominent corridor of downtown Austin by extending the boundaries of the current Capitol complex along Congress Avenue. This would give the Texas Department of Public Safety primary responsibility for law enforcement and security services within the expanded boundaries. The bill would expand the Capitol complex boundaries to include the following land: north by the outside curb of 10th Street and east by the outside curb of Brazos Street, south by Ladybird Lake, and west by the outside curb of Colorado Street. We will have a map for you. One of the witnesses will provide a map. Under current law, the City of Austin and DPS must execute an agreement that defines their respective responsibilities regarding traffic, parking enforcement, and general security. My bill provides that this agreement must include responsibilities for public safety and law enforcement. The bill would require the agreement to include a formula for calculating DPS's annual cost of providing law enforcement and public safety services to the Capitol complex. The comptroller would require to withhold from the City of Austin a portion of their municipal sales taxes based on DPS's annual cost of providing this law enforcement within the Capitol complex. The comptroller would then credit those funds to the General Revenue Fund for the use of DPS. Under current law, the Capitol complex only applies to property to the extent the property is owned by or under control of the state. Although I am waiting to receive a committee substitute from Legislative Council, I intend to strike this phrase, meaning DPS would have a primary responsibility for law enforcement and security services within the entire geographic boundaries of the Capitol complex, regardless of whether certain property is owned by or under the control of the state. There's a lot of private property down there. I also intend to introduce a change that ensures the City of Austin does not redirect funds that it currently provides to the Austin Police Department as a result of this bill. They can't defund the police department. The changes will also ensure that the bill does not affect the city's duty to fulfill the obligations of their labor contract with its police officers, including its obligations related to a meet and confer agreement. Congress Avenue is a front door to the state of Texas. We can't let it decay anymore and continue to watch its deterioration.
Chairman,
I am open for questions.
Well, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Thompson.
Do you represent Austin?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Thank you.
Mr. Raymond.
Thank you, Chairman.
And just to clarify, I'm a state representative. I believe I have input into the entire state of Texas. Yes,
We
sir.
are all the state representatives.
That's correct.
First of all, I agree with you. That you're right. You do have the right to put forth proposals that affect the whole state or any part of it. But you're working on a substitute, and I don't know if you mentioned this, but I'd like to take a closer look at exactly what that map looks like, and would you consider making it bigger, the area that it would cover?
Representative, this has been attempted before in various stages. They were much broader from what I had seen, and so I am attempting to narrow the scope to Congress Avenue. Again, it is the essentially the main front door of the state of Texas to the Capitol building, and I'd like to start there.
But you would be open if the House would be if this got to the floor and there was the will there to make it a little bigger, maybe not the whole city? Or do you really want to keep it to where you've got it right now?
Like everything else, it depends.
Okay.
Thank you. Members, other questions? Mr. Tepper? Okay. We'll call you back shortly. You have a few witnesses. Okay. Chair calls Lisa Davis. Chief Davis, we show you as Lisa Davis, Chief Police, City of Austin, and you were representing the City of Austin,
Yes, sir.
and you were against the bill.
Okay. I'm against the bill, that's correct.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay, well, thank you, Chair. I appreciate the time, and committee members. I am against this bill. I think it is, I've been here for 6 months as Austin's police chief, and we have seen significant strides in those 6 months. When you're looking at the data used for looking at this bill, I believe it's from 2022. And when you're looking across the country in 2022, every major city was up in crime. Austin has made, again, significant strides. What I've done, our homicides are down 30% year to date. Our violent crime in the downtown area is down 15%. So this narrative that Austin is dangerous is not accurate. And when you look at morale, I was brought here to address morale, retention, and recruitment. This happens, you're going to see morale go down for these officers. They are a department from 2020 that is traumatized, and quite honestly, there's some trauma bonding within the department, and this would further erode morale within the organization. And so I would hate to see that, because again, we are making some great strides. And again, I've been here for 6 months, and we're only turning more. The ship is turning, community policing is coming up, crime is going down. And so that is why I'm against this bill.
Okay. Members, questions for the witness? Ms. Thompson?
Congratulations on your 6 months.
Thank you, ma'am.
Let me ask you a question. Does the city of Austin host South by Southwest?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you all been the host of that function for several years?
We have, and we've had no issues at all.
And what is normally the population of persons, just an estimate of people who attend that over the period of time that they're here?
I think it goes into the millions.
I mean, just give me a ballpark
I'm
figure.
going to say 1.2 million.
And has that been a decrease in population?
No, ma'am.
People are still attending that function annually?
That's correct.
It's an annual function, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And they attend that annually.
Annually, yes.
And your city is not so dangerous until that keeps them, deter them from attending that function, right?
Austin is a safe city, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. Vice Chair Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Chief Davis, it's great to have you here. I always like to see women in law enforcement, so welcome. I see here in your prepared remarks that you mentioned that DPS already has jurisdiction to enforce laws anywhere in the state, including Congress Avenue, and that you already have, you're already working with them closely. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, DPS, we work closely together, and whether it's, and I understand the history here. I'm not naive enough to think that there's not been a history here, so I understand that. But I am here to, again, we are turning the page. We have new, a new city manager, a new city staff here, a new police chief, and things are turning. I like and appreciate DPS, and I see us working together more closely in the future on other issues throughout the city. But this area is Austin's. And again, you talk about taking this from them. We are eroding, again, the morale of these officers and what we're trying to do here. And if I can get in real quick, one of the things that I've also done in the downtown, when I got hired from Kurt Watson, during that interview, he made it known that downtown and this area were important to him, and it needed to be important to the next chief. I have increased by 40% the number of officers that are downtown in this area by a new unit that's been arranged here, Downtown Austin Response Team. And that is a team that's dealing with a lot of issues, whether it's DUI, problem solving, looking at place network investigations, all of these after-hours clubs. We've closed down 4 after-hour locations here. So good work is being done here. But I work closely with DPS, and I value their partnership for sure.
So you would be able to continue doing
Oh,
that
absolutely.
without having to expand
Absolutely.
this jurisdiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, thank you for being here. So you said that the data referenced by the bill author was from 2022, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So since 2022, so you said you've been here 6 months, so
Right.
Austin has a new police chief. Since 2022, I believe Austin has a new mayor, is that accurate?
That's correct.
And Austin has a new city manager since that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it accurate to say, I think it said in the bill layout that crime in Austin is out of control?
That is
Do you
not
think
accurate.
that's a fair characterization?
No, I do not.
And in fact, the data shows crime is declining in Austin?
That's correct.
Okay. And you referenced national trends. I'm from the North Texas area. My recollection is that in 2022, most of our major cities in North Texas had seen, an uptick in certain crimes, including violent crime, and that's been declining since then. And you're saying that Austin has experienced a similar downward trend in serious crimes.
That is correct.
Okay. The bill also contemplates a formula that should be calculated to, if I'm understanding correctly, that the state will send the city of Austin a bill for DPS taking on these responsibilities, which, as you say, they already have the ability to do this or to work with you, or the state will withhold local sales tax revenue. But either way, the state would charge the city. Is Austin like most other major cities where public safety is the biggest portion of the city's annual budget?
That's right.
Okay. So a hit to revenue to the city, I assume, is going to disproportionately hurt your public safety budget. Would I be correct in assuming that?
Yeah, I think it's quite accurate because, again, it is the biggest part of the budget when you're looking at the funds. I believe looking at the math, doing the math of what this would take in the millions, and that would come from somewhere.
Okay.
And money's already been removed from the Austin Police Department. We do not need more.
Okay. So a bill purportedly about public safety is actually going to hurt public safety.
It will absolutely hurt the Austin Police Department, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond? Oh,
Thank you,
I'm
Chairman.
sorry.
How long have you been in law enforcement?
32 years.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You don't look like you've been in law enforcement 32 years, but
Thank you, sir.
good for you. And thank you to Chairman Turner for making the point I'd like to get to a little bit. First of all, let me ask you this. Were this bill to pass, as you and your team read it, would your police officers still be able to make arrests in the area that's covered in this bill?
So I think this
If
is
they
the,
saw something,
yeah, and so I think this is the ironic part of this, right? So we already work with DPS, and if I were to call them today and ask for help somewhere, they would give it to me, and we would work together to address problems. And we are certainly moving more into that in that direction. But the thing is, yes, Austin Police Department would still respond to assist, but then we would be giving money.
well,
This money would be taken
so
away.
If we could keep it to the question, would you still have jurisdiction to make arrests, et cetera?
Yes, we would still have jurisdiction.
Okay, good. So I guess I'll look at it a little differently. Were I you, I'd be welcoming this with a caveat. They didn't take money away from you. So, I'm going to reach out to the author after this hearing and suggest that I'll support this bill. But what I would like to see is that we don't take money from you. We've got plenty of money in our state budget, I believe, to cover this without taking money from the city. If, and I mean if, the city will then use that money to expand what they do in terms of law enforcement capabilities through other parts of the city. That would be, you may not agree with it, you may be forced, maybe you can't agree with it, but that's not a bad deal. If they're willing to cover an area where you would still have the ability to go make arrests should any of your police officers be there, or if DPS calls you because there's some big incident going on and they need help and you guys respond and you have, again, you'd have that jurisdiction. But if you didn't lose any money, right, and that it actually allowed you to use the money that you would be getting to expand your capabilities in the other parts of the city. Seems to me that you may or may not want to comment on that, but I think that's a good deal.
I would like to comment on that.
Would
And
it
I
be
would
better,
like,
would it be a better deal than what's being proposed now?
I don't, what I would say to you is, and with all due respect, because I truly do respect you, but DPS has authority already as well.
I understand, but
So-
I understand that. So the bill is flipping it. It's flipping where they're the sort of more express authority or whatever, however you want to describe it. So what I'm suggesting to you is to do it in a way that you don't lose money, because when you say, you know, or Mr. Turner said, and I know he just stepped out, that this would be undermining or undercutting because it'd be cutting resources from APD. What I'm proposing to you, and I'd like to discuss with the author later, is that we don't take away the money, but only of the money. Because believe me, if this bill passes and it came to pass, that then we would divert some of those monies back to the state, if you will. The city council won't like it, but if we passed a bill that said you don't lose money, you still keep that money, they'll use it for something else, unless we make it clear in the bill that it cannot be used for something else. It can only be used to expand your capabilities. It's a good deal.
So, sir, I guess I'm thinking in regards to these officers, not the political of, it's Austin City Council, it's this or that. I'm thinking about the morale of these officers, and you removing an area of responsibility from them. That's exactly how,
I don't agree
as their
with that.
police chief, that's
I
how
don't-
that would be perceived.
I don't agree, with all due respect, Chief, I don't agree with you, because you just said you would still have the ability. DPS couldn't keep your officers from patrolling the area as well. That's not what this bill does, so it doesn't do that. But I also want to say, because it's been mentioned a couple of times here, including by Chairman Turner, we got a new mayor, he's a good buddy of mine, he's a great guy. We have a new council, whatever. I think what this bill is trying to get to is that regardless of what that council or the mayor looks like, that we do take care of this area in a meaningful way. And yeah, I don't like what you guys, not you weren't even here. I don't like what the city council did back in 2020. That was terrible. And I was one of the joint authors on the bill that we then passed the next session that said you can't do that around the state of Texas. So I feel very strongly about this. This does not in any way undercut you, with all respect, at least what I'm suggesting, that we change the bill where you don't lose money, but that you use that money to expand your capabilities in the other parts of the city. And it does not limit, it does not mean that you all cannot patrol these areas. But it does protect you from future city councils that don't feel as strongly as Kirk Watson that we need a safe area around the Capitol. So, you know, there's no bigger supporter of law enforcement here than me. I promise you that. I've been here 31 years. Nobody that supports you guys more than I do. But our frustration with this city council at times has gotten us to where you have this legislation in front of us. And I hope it passes, but I hope that we can change it in a way that doesn't undermine your ability, but in fact it expands your ability to provide protection for the folks, the citizens of Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chief, for being here. I'm questioning whether or not the authors talked to you about what you're implementing and what the city's doing. Have you all had a visit with him to
I have not spoken to the
maybe
author.
share with him where you are and what you're doing as it relates to the improvements and adjustments to address what his concerns may be?
Oh, I'd totally be open to that, yes, but I have not spoken to him.
You have not spoken with him. Okay, do you think it would be helpful if he knew the kinds of plans you all have in place, the kinds of programs that you're implementing, so that there would not be this need for the state to intervene in what you do so well? I'm concerned that we all have responsibilities, and when we start usurping other people's responsibilities, I'm concerned about that. So I just want to make sure that maybe that would be helpful if he knew the kinds of plans that the city is implementing, the kinds of issues you're dealing to address these concerns he may have. Maybe that would relieve him of the need for the state to take on this new responsibility, because we suffer with some of the state's departments having the resources they need to do what they do, and authority we've given them to implement. So I'm just wondering if that might be helpful. You think you would be able to help provide that information?
I
to-
would be more than happy to sit and talk with the author of this and explain what the what we have going on in the department.
I think we're all concerned about safety, but I think we also have confidence in folks that are put in these positions who would like to see you be able to perform without our intervention. Unfortunately, all of us don't believe that the state's the only answer to everything, so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Members, further questions for Chief Davis? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here. Chair calls Judge Shepard. Mr. Shepard, the record shows you are a policy analyst and you're representing the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and you are for the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You have 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Chairman King, esteemed members of this committee, I just want to say thank you all for allowing me to be here this morning. My name is Judge Shepard. I'm a policy analyst at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and I'm here to testify in support of HB470. As you heard earlier, as far as some stats from U.S. World News as well as local articles, House Bill 470 seeks to expand the boundaries of the Capitol complex, introduce measures of modern security management such as regulation of unmanned aircraft within the boundaries, and establish an interlocal cooperation agreement with the City of Austin to delineate responsibilities, thus ensuring a seamless and effective approach to safeguarding this unique governmental hub. As this nice woman right here is passing, there is a map. The blue there shows the current boundaries of the Capitol complex, with the exception of the William P. Clements building on West 15th Street. The white section would be the proposed expansion. HB 470 seeks to increase the boundaries as the following. The area bounded on the north by the outside curve of 10th Street, to the east on the outside curve of Brazos, on the south by Lady Bird Lake, and on the west by the outside curve of Colorado Street. This bill states that the Department of Public Safety will have primary responsibility for law enforcement and security services within the boundaries. It also requires DPS and the City of Austin to enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement. This agreement must include a calculation for DPS increased costs for this increased expansion. And from there, from that calculation, the comptroller will deduct that amount from the City of Austin's taxes and apply it as a credit to the General Revenue Fund. Funds then under this credit, the General Revenue Fund may only be appropriated to the Department of Public Safety. From Lady Bird Lake up to 10th Street is essentially the front porch of the Texas Capitol. This expansion of the boundaries of the Capitol complex would ensure that Texans and other visitors to our great state may be able to walk up on the porch freely and safely. Granting DPS primary responsibility for this area would ease the burden faced by our brave yet understaffed Austin Police Department. In conclusion, passing this bill will not only strengthen the security and public safety measures, but also demonstrate our dedication to protecting all who work in, visit, and pass through the Capitol complex. I thank you all for this opportunity, and I look forward to any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Shepard, members of the questions, Mr. Raymond?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. You were listening to the earlier testimony. If this bill were to be changed to where any of the money that's being contemplated, taken from Austin, stayed with Austin, but only if they expanded their law enforcement capabilities, I'll put it that way, would you still be for the bill, or would you be against it at that point?
At the moment, I would like to obviously work with.
I understand.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
asking you a question. If we did what I'm suggesting, would you be against the bill at that point?
At the moment, I would hate to comment on that. I'd like to run it back up to my higher-ups as well as the author as well, but I would love to look forward to working with your office on
Yeah,
this.
this is based on, let's say the author agrees, okay, it makes sense. We've got enough money, the state has enough money, and so we don't need Austin's money. We'll let them keep it as long as they use it to expand law enforcement in the other areas. Take it to your higher-ups and ask them if they would still be for it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the questions?
Yeah,
Mr.
just a quick one, Mr. Chairman, really quickly. So can you describe the current law enforcement presence in this, what we would call the Capitol complex?
Yes, sir. Currently, DPS has primary jurisdiction for the Capitol complex. However, with this expansion, they would also have primary responsibility. Sir?
My question's a little bit more granular. What are the patrol patterns currently?
No, sir, I have no data as far as the actual patrol patterns.
How much staffing does Austin PD have on the ground there? How many officers?
No, sir, I don't have that answer for you, but I would love to find out and get with you
What
on
is
it.
the schedule of patrolling in the area?
No, sir, I don't have any data on this patrol schedules.
Have you asked Austin PD before you came to testify?
No, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Members, further questions? Oh, Ms. McQueenie.
Thank you, Chair. Does anybody, and maybe this is for Representative Tepper, does anybody have a projection of how much money this would impact the city of Austin by?
I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think
Yeah.
Mr. Shepherd can answer that question.
No, sir, I don't have
By
any
the,
data
by
on
the
that.
blank look on his face, I'm telling you, he cannot.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Members, further questions for Mr. Shepherd? Seeing none, thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you all so very much.
Chair calls Eddie Garcia. Mr. Garcia, we show you're representing the city of Austin, and you are against the bill.
Yes, sir.
3 minutes.
So Chairman King and the rest of the committee, thank you for your time. My name is Eddie Garcia. I'm the Assistant City Manager over Public Safety, which includes law enforcement operations in the city of Austin. As you heard from Police Chief Davis when she added her testimony and the statistics, also present is our Homeless Strategy Office Director, David Gray, another new department that we have. You know, first of all, I'll just start by saying that we understand the perceptions. We understand the perceptions that have been here in the city of Austin with regards to the fact that public safety has not always been prioritized. However, we have new leadership. We have Mayor Watson, City Manager Broadnex, a new police chief, and again, a homeless strategy officer. We have made downtown a top priority. You know, I know Chief Davis has been here 6 months. I've been here 4. And coming here, we knew what our priorities would be, and downtown was definitely one of them. The leadership, the experience, having worked with data-based crime initiatives, evidence-based policing, working with criminologists, we've expanded our police presence downtown. We've launched new safety initiatives that you heard Chief Davis spoke about, particularly the 6th Street Safety Pilot Project, which has shown great improvement in the time it's been open. Crime is down. And we're going to start a downtown P&I model in Austin. P&I stands for Place Network Investigations. It's a criminological term that really means about all city departments solving an issue. The police department is a cog in the wheel. We are not a solution to the problem. We are the Tylenol, we're the Advil you take to reduce a fever. We're not a cure to the illness. The cure to the illness is getting all city departments on board to solve a problem and to make downtown better, and that's what we're going to start doing, working with criminologists. You know, we believe HB470 undermines our progress, creates confusion, who's in charge, who responds. Again, as Chief Davis pointed out, and as some of you know me, I've been in law enforcement my entire life, and I'm a big morale for the troops and be behind it. Our officers are working hard, and we're seeing results. Our men and women need support. They've been through a lot. They've been vilified. They've not felt supported. And this isn't support. We need people to support us. We need people to believe in them. You know, when we look at the old data, I will say with all due respect, I've worked with a lot of criminologists throughout my career, and there's not one that would predicate, you know, a plan based on 3-year-old data. And I'll finish up real quick in conclusion. We're here fixing the problem. You know, there's new city leadership. Give us a chance. And I think I heard a beep, so I guess my time's up.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Mr. Anchia has a question.
Hey, Chief. It's good to see you. We miss you up in Dallas. You said you've had your whole life in law enforcement. How long has that been?
It would have been 33 years.
And just so women aren't the only ones who received this comment from the committee, you look really great, you know, for 33 years in law enforcement. I want to make sure that we're dealing with with good facts. And I think you'll like some of my questioning. You may not like the second part because there's an admonition here. But you know, when the statement is made that crime is out of control in Austin, the facts just don't support that. I've got facts in front of me from the city of Austin that violent crime has dropped 15.4% between 23 and 24, and almost 25%, 24.4 to be exact, between 22 and 24. So I just want to make sure we have the same baseline of facts. Are those yours as well? Do you share those facts?
That is my understanding as well, sir.
Okay. And can you describe the protocols for your working collaboratively with DPS currently? How does that happen?
Well, you know, like most things, you know, relationships aren't built in a vacuum. Not only with the relationships that exist here within the city of Austin and DPS, but also in my time as chief, working with DPS, the central chief here. We used to work together in Dallas. We have tremendous relationship. We pick up a phone when we need assistance. So there's the official way of officially asking for things and getting help, and then there's the unofficial phone calls that you make. And so, again, it's we're constantly in communication. And I don't think that we could have a better relationship, at least from the chief to myself with DPS with regards to when we need help.
And I'm going to drill down into that collaboration. Specifically, do you have like a written protocol where you're working on a joint basis, on a joint task force with the Capitol complex? Because even though we want to give great deference to the city of Austin, we also think it would be, to some of the other committee members' points, helpful to be collaborative, coordinating on a regular basis with respect to this footprint. Because after all, it is kind of our national mall here in the eighth largest economy in the world. Is there a formal protocol that you have in place?
I'm not familiar with anything in writing that we have in place.
Okay. The reason I say that is that, you know, even people who are super sympathetic to Austin, who appreciate your work and the fact that violent crime has come down, I think the sense that you might be getting from some of us on this committee is, hey, it might be a good idea to work together. I don't want anything punitive I don't want us pulling money away from the city. But this is an important asset that would likely merit some enhanced collaboration. And so I just offer that as an admonition. I'm a great admirer of both the chief and your work. Miss you in Dallas. But, you know, the Capitol complex should be a shining example, a referential point in the state of Texas for what we represent, how we express our values. And so I do share, having been here for 20 years, I do share some of the frustration with kind of just an overall challenges with petty crime. Less violent crime has gone down, but the challenges with the unhoused, which we also have in Dallas, so I'm not throwing stones at Austin, but I think something that requires a lot of attention from municipal governments throughout the state. So I just want to offer that up, you know, as a gentle reminder that it might make sense for you to have sort of a written protocols to understand what coverage looks like, you know, with DPS, so that we can do even better than we're doing. Because reductions are great, but the baseline is, and I think, Mr. Chairman, the chief wanted to come up and respond to my question. Do you mind calling her up just really quickly? She is nodding her head.
Can I finish with this witness? There's other questions for this witness.
I
and then we'll be
appreciate
glad
you.
to do that.
Thank you, Mr.
Ms.
Chairman.
Thompson.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Real quick. You know, sir, I will tell you this, there is absolutely no disagreement with regards to this should be the shining jewel. When it comes to issues in downtown, particularly as you spoke about our unhoused population, you know, obviously mental illness plays an important role in that. And obviously, you will see some things coming up in this session with regards to things that can help public safety with regards to unhoused that also suffer from mental illness, that we could ask for your help also, and you'll get no disagreements. And I think the chief is here because we do have some agreements with DPS with regards to this footprint. And that's
Thanks,
what you're
Chief, and I
here to
appreciate your testimony today.
Ms. Thompson.
I just want to ask a question. How many years of law enforcement experience you have?
Started in 1992, so been a while.
So from your experience and your vantage point, if you needed additional help based on your knowledge, experience, expertise, you would know when that moment would come, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have not seen that moment yet?
I have not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rame.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for your many years of service. Representative Chair Davis and I first got elected in 1992. That's when we got here. You were listening to the earlier testimony. Do you know how much money we're talking about as far as what the bill's proposing and what that would equal in terms of taking away funds from the city of Austin and shift it over to the state? Do you have any idea?
I haven't heard specifically, but my understanding is it's significant.
Who told you it was significant?
In the conversations I had spoken, it's significant.
It would be good if somebody could resource us on that because it's one of the concerns you have.
Absolutely.
And again, you probably heard me say that I'm going to talk to the author of the bill later to see if we can't convince him to let Austin keep that money, but only if Austin uses it for law enforcement, to expand law enforcement. Also, I just have to say, I appreciate your attitude and the chief's attitude and so forth about, and mentioning, oh, we have a new mayor, we have a new council, you know, whatever. I think what this bill contemplates is that no matter who the council is, no matter what they look like, we don't want you all to, and again, I get your position, but later on to be saying, man, you know, this new council, this new mayor, they're not as pro-law enforcement as Kirk Watson was. And I think that's what this bill contemplates. That's where it's coming from.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question for the Assistant City Manager as well. Has your office been in contact with the author? Has the author contacted the city to get any input from you guys?
If there was a contact in the city, it would be me, and I have not heard. I have not.
Okay. So, and the reason I think this is important is because as members of the legislature over my 30-plus years, as Richard Raymond mentioned, one of the challenges is how we work together. And so when we file legislation, we do it for a lot of reasons. And I think it's always helpful when you're going into someone else's jurisdiction to at least have a conversation with them regarding that. So I would encourage you to be receptive, because I'm sure after this hearing they might want to come and visit with you to discuss the ins and outs. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to do a follow-up question later. I'd like DPS to come and tell us what their needs are as an agency, because we have some really critical areas in Dallas that are not being covered as it relates to just basic stuff like getting your driver's license. I don't know what your experiences are around the state, but we have lines, and DPS could be very well overwhelmed. So I'd like them to tell us what this does to them as well.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
to that end, Ms. Davis,
Thank you.
I don't think we have DPS here today, but we will make that
Well,
happen.
they could, yeah. Thank you.
So, members, further questions, Mr. Garcia? Okay. You know, if you don't mind, just stay there while I recall Chief.
Yes, sir.
I can bring it back up. No, well, what is his name?
Hello, sir.
Yep. Okay. Record shows that you are Lisa Davis, Chief Police and representing the city of Austin, and you are against the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Anchia had a question.
Thank you. And I maybe unfairly asked this question of Chief Garcia. I should have asked you, and I apologize. Can you speak to the protocols that are in place and your joint operations with DPS? What kind of coverage you have of this corridor and the activities that you are undertaking together?
So we know that there are, every weekend, almost every day, there are protests here on the Capitol grounds. We work closely with DPS in the ARIC system, which is our intel unit. So we work closely with the protests, working together collaboratively. When protesters move off the Capitol onto Congress, we work together for that. We're there to assist them when they need us. And not just there, but the highways. They're on the highways with us, doing work there. So we work in many areas. We have MOUs. We're federal partners on some federal task force, all of those things. So we work collectively together on a number of projects.
Got it. And just with respect to this corridor, because that is the subject of the bill,
Right.
do you feel like you have joint operational coverage in collaboration with DPS, visibility all the way from the Capitol complex all the way down to the lake?
I do, and I also feel when we start as ACM talked about, when we move forward, when we start looking at our place network investigations and we're doing work in places, there's no doubt that DPS will be part of this team that we put together to address issues throughout this area.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you both.
Thank you. Remember, any further questions? Mr. Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question for either one of you, whoever's best suited to answer it. I was intending to ask this of DPS. I assume they would be here as a resource, but the Chairman just said they're not here this morning. Has the City of Austin had any conversations with DPS about this proposed legislation? And if so, has DPS indicated what this tab would work out to that the city would be billed for if this bill actually passed? Do either of you know?
I think there's been initial conversations, but they've been as of like yesterday. I don't think we have the exact numbers, but again, as I made mention before, we understand it would be significant, but we don't have the exact numbers.
Okay. Have they provided a ballpark at all, or?
Nothing official.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry,
All right,
sir.
well, hopefully we could ask DPS that question. I think it's important that they be a resource to us.
We will make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Members, further questions of the witnesses? Seeing none, thank you both for being
Thank you.
here. Appreciate your testimony. Chair calls Michael Bullock. Mr. Bullock, the record shows that you're representing the Austin Police Association and you are neutral on the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
3 minutes.
Thank you, sir. As you mentioned, I'm Michael Bullock. I'm the president for the Austin Police Association and an officer with the Austin Police Department as its association representative. There's a lot that's been covered. Any criminal justice solution is a complex one, but there's a few things that I did want to address. First and foremost is something that you mentioned, Representative Raymond, was that poor decisions have been made by councils in the past, and we can't always guarantee what is going to happen in the future, and that is a concern that is top of mind for a lot of officers. We represent every rank within the Austin Police Association, but we're obviously very close to our line officers, and that is a sentiment that they do share. Mistakes have been made in the past by councils that resulted in defunding, that put us into a staffing kind of spiral. And then we've had a lot of other issues related to our district and county attorney that have had extreme impacts on morale. Yes, we do have new leadership that we are very excited about and happy to have, but we don't know how long that will last, and things can change. The primary concern that I have is yet again something that you mentioned, sir, which was the financial impact. What I do fear is that if a bill were to come, a financial impact were to come to the city, that ultimately the department would be the ones that are expected to foot that bill, which would result in a reduction of services rather than an increase. Now, with that being said, I also know that Representative Tepper did mention planned changes to the bill, and his staff has been talking with us about that to try to address those concerns. So I appreciate that. As the bill stands right now, that's just our primary concern, but I do appreciate his willingness to talk about that and be open to those conversations. One of the things that I do just want to point out is that, yes, we talk about crime statistics, but there is almost an unquantifiable thing in those statistics, which is that as a result of our staffing crisis, we have stopped responding to a large number of calls, or calls have gone unanswered and people become frustrated because of our lack of staffing. No fault of the department, but that's just kind of the reality of where we have been. So in some cases where it may look like crime goes down, that may not necessarily be the most accurate representation, because in many cases people don't report crime. Now that would typically apply to things like property crime, not so much with violent crime, because those do tend to be reported as they do happen. The last thing that I'll mention is, again, that criminal justice is a complex issue, and one thing that isn't addressed in this bill, as it's a separate issue, but is one that is paramount to being addressed, is the fact that if we have county and district attorneys who are not interested in prosecuting crime, it's not going to matter who is patrolling what area or who is assigned what part of the city. As we just saw over the weekend, we had a homicide that occurred, and the gentleman who was arrested for it had previously been charged for unlawfully carrying a weapon for deadly conduct.
Mr. Bullock.
Oh, I apologize. It went off.
We are on a little bit of a time constraint. Remember the questions for Mr. Bullock.
Chairman, I do.
Quickly, please.
I'll be quick,
Thank
but
you.
it's important. Thank you for opening the door on prosecutions. I've talked to several law enforcement officers, or PD in Austin, and how frustrated they are with your prosecutors. And I want to tell you, members, I wish that we could expand this at least to us in terms of prosecutions, because you cannot imagine how frustrating it is to get a threat, as I got 4 years ago, where someone, and we knew who it was, and I took it to the county attorney, DPS actually took it to the county attorney, where someone specifically talked about cutting off certain parts of my body, very specific, and the county attorney just decided they weren't going to prosecute that. They just weren't going to chase. They knew who it was. You know how frustrating that is? So yeah, Carl, we should look at expanding the prosecution, give it to the Attorney General. I don't know, but that's BS, man.
Members' questions for the witness? Seeing none. Mr. Bullock, thank you for your testimony.
Appreciate it, sir.
All right, is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 470? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Representative Tepper to close on House Bill 470 quickly.
Thank you, Chairman. I know we're under time constraint. I'm surprised I'm in this position, being up against the police chief of the city of Austin. I completely appreciate her service and her determination to improve her department. Her morale problem is not anything we've done. The morale problem is the leadership of the city. The new mayor has been back, and I was a Kirk Watson appointee. What people don't know is I used to live here. I managed 919 Congress. I was one of the property managers at 111 Congress. These properties pay millions of dollars, probably billions over 5 years in property taxes. There's plenty of money to fund this police department. It's not about the money, and it shouldn't be. And by the way, this is a neutral, that what they're taking off and patrolling these areas, they can put it back into other areas, and it'll be taken over by DPS and our budget. But I'm telling you now, we are not the problem of morale of the police department of the city. Their leadership is, and that's where the argument should be. We have a responsibility to our members and our staff and their safety. In just the last couple of weeks, I have witnessed screaming in front of the Capitol building. Homeless. The homeless policies here are abysmal. Any passive observer knows what's going on here. People caked in unmentionable things along Congress Avenue, in front of the Austin Club. The property managers are having a deal, and I was one of them. Needles, office creepers, which are thieves in our offices, they're tired of it. They're paying too much property taxes for too little services in this city. And frankly, it's a vote on it's a vote of no confidence in the leadership of the city. We don't want to take over the city. Right now, we just want to make sure our staff, our property, Congress Avenue, which is the front door to the state, is protected. I'd like to keep it there for now, Representative, with all due respect. And with that, I
Mr. Chairman,
close.
I ask a small question.
Ms. Thomas.
Did you visit with the police chief when you filed your bill?
We visited with their government relations personnel, as is the common thing to do. And if they were not informed
Did you
by their
visit with the
government, they
mayor's
can't even
office
get
when-
government relations going
Did you
correctly.
visit with the mayor's office people also?
We got with their government relations, which is supposed to disperse these requests to the various departments, and apparently they did not. This bill,
Did you visit with the
Representative, was
delegation
filed
of
in
also
November. This bill was
legislators
filed in
here?
November. There was plenty of heads up, but I've noticed that going on around the Capitol building, that if people are against your bill, they'll wait till the 11th hour to start visiting you and disagreeing with your bill, when they had plenty of time to work with you over. I've got a water bill coming up. It's the same thing. They wait for the 11th hour and say, you didn't get in touch with them, you didn't work with them. Well, we've been speaking with the police
Did you visit
association
with
here,
the
and we've been
delegation
speaking.
of Austin, the legislators here?
I did not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tepper. Members, further questions for Mr. Tepper? You close?
I close. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. If there's no objection, House Bill 470 will be left pending at this time. Is there objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 470 is left pending. Chair moves that the committee stand in recess until final adjournment, recess of the House, or during the bill referral if permission is granted. Is there objection? There's seeing none, the motion prevails. The committee stands in recess. Yes.